What's up, guys? Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck Explorer here. One of the most interesting things about Yu-Gi-Oh! To me is all the different formats that people play. And one that I think that's kind of fun and overlooked a lot are speed duels. I made a video a while back. I got the Speed Duel Battle City box, and that kind of sparked my interest in, tinkering with the speed duel decks. I even dueled one of my friends from Instagram. I'll put his Instagram in the description down below so you can check him out. I call him the Wizard. I can't remember off the top of my head what his official Instagram handle is, but he's a really good guy and really likes the game and is all about his Dark Magicians. That being said, he was doing some stuff with speed duels, and that kind of piqued my interest in it as well. So we've dueled a couple times. I actually should reach out to him and duel again for the video. Maybe that'll be a follow-up video here. But I thought I'd just go through a handful of my builds here, just so if you're interested in playing some speed duel rounds and you want like some decent decks to tinker with, I think these builds are actually not too bad. I'm just going to show you 3 of my favorites. The thing I like about speed duels so far is that it gives you an opportunity to play archetypes that aren't very good in normal Yu-Gi-Oh format, in the modern Yu-Gi-Oh format, but are very nostalgic. So the first example that you can see here are Magnet Warriors. The Magnet Warriors obviously played by Yugi Yami during the anime, so very nostalgic with respect to that. And I liked that they have fairly powerful monsters, and that you can get to a special summon monster by tributing cards from your hand. That's very powerful in this format because you only have 3 slots on field. So it's hard to build up the field presence. You don't have link monsters. It's harder to get fusion monsters out, etc., etc. So you can almost think of this as like pre-synchro era, where you don't have as much comboing going on. You don't have as much summoning going on. So the strategy here is obviously to get Valkyrian out, but also we have 3 of the highest attack ones, the beta, and we also have Delta because it can search the other ones. So we have 3 alpha because it's the highest attack one, like I said, so that way you can hold board presence and you can also let it die if need be. You play 1 gamma and 1 alpha, so that way you can get the Valkyrian. You play 1 Valkyrian because it's a brick if you draw it and you don't have the other 3. We play the Delta to search out the other pieces through the gameplay. And then we also play the 3 magnetic field, which lets you search more pieces. So you can see here we're trying to turbo out Valkyrian as fast as we can. You only play with 4,000 life points, so the 3,500 attack monster is really, really strong. We play 2 Cosmic Cyclone. It's quick play, so it's pretty strong and banishes. So I think playing that as your spell removal is pretty strong. Obviously, losing 1,000 life points when you're only playing with 4,000 is kind of detrimental, but I don't think it's terrible. 2 Book of Moon in this format. Book of Moon is really good because you can flip monsters down and it'll stop them from attacking. It also stops their effects from going off, etc. So I think the 2 Book of Moon are good monster negation type of effects with, you're not going to get the pop, but you have the speed spell 4 going on. We play the 2 Metaverse because the magnetic field searcher is a field spell, so we effectively play 5 of those in here. Off the top of my head, I don't know why I don't play terraforming. Maybe there is no terraforming in this format, I can't remember, but I played 2 Metaverse. You could probably cut that down to 1 and throw something else in here like the Gnome and a cross out, but like I said, I'm trying to turbo out that Valkyrian, so I have the 2. And then we have 2 Widespread Ruin. It's just some battle protection, destroys your opponent's monsters. And people are so used to not worrying about battle traps from the current format that when they go back to speed duel format or back to like Go format, the battle traps kind of catch them off guard. They're not always ready for them. So Widespread Ruin, I've caught some people off guard with that. The other thing about speed duels is you have skill cards, which you can essentially have access to throughout the entire game, and they're just like spell cards that you can activate. And I believe you can activate 1. You can have 2, I think. but I don't think you can activate both of them in a game. I think you can only activate one, but don't quote me on that. I can't remember for sure. But regardless, the two I play Destiny Draw. It just says if you lose half your life points, you can draw a card. Or you can search for a card instead of drawing a card, excuse me. And then the other one is Magnetic Attraction, which is specifically for the Magnet Warriors. You can essentially search Magnet Warriors. That way you can turbo out your Valkyrian. So you guys get the gist of what's going on here. Small deck, fun deck, very nostalgic. I remember back in the day trying to get all through Magnet Warriors. I didn't have the Valkyrian, but I remember the secret rare versions of all of these in first edition, trying to get them. Never did, but as a kid, you can only hope, right? So the next deck is my own creation, honestly. I kind of came up with this. I haven't really seen any like tournament play for speed duels. I haven't looked into it that much as far as like meta for speed duels. So I can't promise you that like this deck is meta relevant. But I found that it's pretty good just in general. The idea is very aggro, which sounds kind of weird. But I got the idea because when I was flipping through, I actually got the Valhalla secret rare. So I had two of those in my Battle City box, and it also comes with the Air Knight Parshath. So I was like, oh, like fairies, Air Knight Parshath. We could do something like that. Well, Air Knight Parshath has 1900 attack, but it also does piercing damage, and you get a draw every time you deal damage. So Air Knight Parshath is actually really strong in this type of format because not only can you deal damage to your opponent as they try to protect themselves, but you also get to keep gaining resources as you're dealing damage. So the goal of this deck is to use cards like Valhalla, which lets you special summon one fairy, which is really strong because you can normal summon a fairy and then special summon a Air Knight Parshath as well. Block your opponent's graveyard zone by using Banishment of the Radiance and Banishment of the Light, while also preserving your life points with the 2000 point defender and a 1600 point attack. And also start gaining resources with things like Skell Angel. That lets you draw a card, and it's also a fairy, so you can also special summon it if need be, if you need the fodder for the normal summon for Parshath or something. You can... The goal then is to slap on one of these equipped spells. Solitary Sword of Poison isn't the best because it only is during your battle phase, I believe. During damage calculation only. That's what it is. So it's not the best with respect to that, but also since Parshath does piercing damage, if you can double 1900, you get 38. So you're really going to town on their life points then. Also, you can't control another monster other than the monster it's equipped to. That's the biggest caveat that I forgot about. I knew there was something in there, but so if you have a Parshath with a Sword of Poison, you can't have other monsters out, which isn't a big deal because you only have 3 zones. You're not trying to build up like a huge board. You're just trying to get some kind of unfair advantage to beat over your opponent with. And a 3800 beater that can inflict piercing damage and draws cards sounds like that to me. Plus, when you think about, this other equip spell that I have in here, the Cestius of Dagla, I'm sure that I mispronounced that, but equips to fairies, gains 500 attack points, and if it inflicts damage, you gain life points equal to the damage inflicted. So if you attach that to a Parshath, not only are you inflicting piercing damage, but you're also drawing a card and you're also gaining life points. So like you're doing so much stuff with one card. You get both equip spells on there. You're really going to town. Then we have Oboku and Widespread Ruin and just battle protection. In general, our skills are just more things to increase or decrease attack and defense of your cards and your opponent's cards, so that way you can continue with this aggro theme. So we play Low Blow and Power Up as our 2 skill cards. So I'll go into one more Speed Duel deck. It kind of goes along with some of the stuff that you've seen with King's Court, which is always interesting. Fun fact also, speed duel cards are legal in normal TCG. So if you have, a Battle City box and you got some cool, some of these night cards from the Battle City box and you want to use those in your King's Court deck from some of the support that just came out in King's Court, go ahead. They're totally legal. And honestly, the speed duel cards are way better quality than the normal TCG cards. I don't know why, but they are. Anyway, so we'll get into this deck. The interesting thing about this deck is we actually play an extra deck. We have some fusions and actually some really powerful fusion mechanics here going on. We'll play the 3 Queen's Knight and 2 King's Knight. The reason for this is because they're reasonably strong, 1600 defense, 1500. And then when you slap down the King's Knight, you can special summon the Jack's Knight. We only play 1 Jack's Knight because it is not normal summonable without a sacrifice, which isn't great when you're only dealing with 20 cards and 4,000 life points. But you get the special summon off the King's Knight, plus you needed all 3 for Arcana Knight Joker. So we, like I said, 3 Queen's Knight, 2 King's Knight, 1 Jack's Knight for that little engine. Then we also play the Command Knight. We play 2 of her, it looks like. And this just gives your warrior monsters a boost, which is nice. And also changes what your opponent can target and stuff if there's other warriors out. So it just goes along with the theme here. Nice card, high defense level, level 4. We have Buster Blader and Dark Magician, and I'll get into that in a minute. I know it doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense, but Buster Blader is a warrior, so it kind of goes with the warrior theme. You could normal summon it if you needed to. And it gains 500 attack for dragons, so especially if you have dragon monsters if you're facing an opponent with dragon monsters and you're putting their dragons in the graveyard, Buster Blader can become a beefy boy. So it's not necessarily bad to have, but really what it's for is Dark Paladin, and we'll get into that in a second here. Then we have a couple equipped cells here. We have the Sword of Poison again, and we also have a Sword of Dragon Soul, which only works for warriors, and they gain 700 attack. And again, special stuff with dragons that's not super critical, but like if you're facing dragons, it helps a little bit too. We play 2 Rhoda because it's not limited in speed duel format, and we're playing all warriors. So being able, you draw a King's Knight, but you don't have a Queen's Knight, or you have a Queen's Knight and you don't have a King's Knight, and you draw into a Rhoda, you can get that whole engine going really quickly. Doing that, plus you could search out, if you have what you need, you can always search out like a Command Knight or the Buster Blader. Just perfect for a warrior deck, obviously. So we also have Lightning Blade, super strong 800 attack, just a nice equip spell. Bashing Shield, which 1,000 attack, and you take no battle damage from attacks involving it. But you can only put it on normal summon monsters, which is fine for the most part, because if you slap that on a King's Knight, it's 2,600 attack. That's a pretty big boy. We also have 1 White Elephant's Gift, which allows you to draw 2 if you send 1 face-up non-effect monster you control to the graveyard, which, Jack's Knight and Queen's Knight are just that. So is Dark Magician for that matter. But it's just a way to gain resources off of something as simple as a Queen's Knight. If you draw into 2 Queen's Knights, I'll get into why you want them in your hand actually here in a second. But say you draw into 2 Queen's Knight, you can summon 1, pop off the White Elephant's Gift, and get 2 draws. That's pretty strong, especially considering the way this deck works is focused on the skill cards, which you always have access to anyway. And then we have Battle Protection, Draining Shield, Wabuku, and Common Charity allows you to draw cards. Also, again, playing into the normal monster thing with Queen's Knight, but it's kind of like a last ditch thing in trying to gain cards. The 2 cards I would side out if I really felt like I needed, or the cards I would side out if I really felt like I needed to, would be the White Elephant's Gift, the Common Charity, and the Buster Blader Dark Magician combo. But I kind of like them being in there. It's just something extra, and also it's just nostalgic, kind of having those cards in your deck. Well, that leads us to the skill cards. We play one fusion party, which is like the most ridiculously overpowered skill card in my opinion, because you activate the skill card in your main phase. Once per duel, you can fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. You don't need a polymerization in your deck because you have one always available in fusion party, so you don't waste this space in your deck. All you're trying to do then is you're trying to get a Queen's Knight, a Jack's Knight, and a King's Knight either on the field or in your hand. So if you can draw a Queen's Knight and a Rhoda or something like that, and you can get all three on the field. Even better is when you can have them all in your hand. Then you just pop off Fusion Party and you go straight into Arcana Knight Joker, which is really strong. It has an Omni Negate, which is ridiculous. And then on top of that, it has a 3,800 attack, which is crazy strong, especially in a format where you only have 4,000 life points. The other strat here obviously is to use Fusion Party to get out Dark Paladin. Again, not the absolute best unless you're facing a dragon deck, but also you can discard one and neg a spell card, and it has 2,900 attack. So still really strong, and since you don't have to play any extra fusion cards, it just requires the Buster Blader and the Dark Magician. Yes, they are bricky, but there's so few cards in the deck, and the only real bricks are Jack's Knight, Dark Magician, and Buster Blader. Everything else will sustain you until you get there. So since there's so few cards and there's only 3 bricks, you're guaranteed to have something else that'll help or protect you. So it's not too worrisome. The other thing is Royal Flush. If you control Queen's Knight, you can pay 1,000 life points to normal summon a King's Knight in addition to the normal summoner set. So, going with this theory of trying to get all 3 out on the field, you throw down a Queen's Knight, which is why we play 3. We play 2 King's Knight, but we play 3 Queen's Knight because you want to see Queen's Knight. And you effectively play 5 because you have Reinforcement Army. So Queen's Knight, then you use... if you have King's Knight or Rhoda, you get King's Knight, and then you go Royal Flush, you normal summon the King's Knight, then you use King's Knight effect to summon the Jack's Knight, and then you can use Fusion Party and go on to Arcana Knight Joker. So obviously this is also kind of an aggro deck. You're not trying to get the Air Knight Parkstaff like in the Fairy one, but you're trying to get out that Arcana Knight Joker is kind of the main goal. If you happen to draw into these 2 late game, or you used up your Jack's Knight or something early, or they destroyed, I guess after you use a Fusion Party, you can't then get the Dark Paladin. But there are other options here too. You could use the polymerization. You could take these 2 out and put polymerization in. But I think that I like this deck the way it is. I like being able, if you draw into these 2, then you don't even need to try to combo into the cards that you need for that. And sometimes you get stuck because trying to get 3 cards in your hand can be kind of tricky, or trying to get them all onto the field. So just remember that having the second win condition isn't terrible. But that's all I have for you guys today, is some speed duel nonsense. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope that I can coerce you into liking and subscribing to the page, and that I would see you back here again for the next video. Maybe some more speed duel stuff, maybe some speed duel gameplay, just to show you the difference in what an average game looks like. Thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your day.